For those of you who are parents, this episode is especially for you. We are talking about what it's like to be a mom while also running a dance studio. So today, my guest is Jessica Canino from Florida, and she and I just have an honest conversation about how we prioritize business and family life and how we make decisions that serve us rather than just our business. You see, a lot of times we get into a moment where we have to sort of choose which one is going to be the priority at that moment. And as all of us know, there are difficult times that will come and go throughout our entrepreneurial journey and with our parenting journey. So, how do we navigate those times? How do we make decisions that we feel at peace with? And how do we look forward to the future as things change? As we know, the newborn stage is so different from when you have adult children. So I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Jessica Canino. And while I have your attention, I do have to mention that I have launched my group coaching program. We're going to be starting in July, and it's a 9-week program. Go to thestudioownerlifecoach.com to learn more. You can join us. It'll be over the summer, and we're really going to dive in and do some transformation work. So go ahead and check that out at thestudioownerlifecoach.com. Now, I hope you enjoy my interview with Jessica. Well, hello. I am so excited today. I have Jessica Canino joining me, and we are going to talk about motherhood and running a business at the same time and all of the, I want to say, unique challenges, but so many of us are moms running a business. So I thought it would be good to have an honest, candid conversation because nobody has it all buttoned up and perfect. There's a lot of reality, and you're probably not alone in what your struggles are. So, hello and welcome, Jessica. How are you?
Hi, Ginger. I'm doing so well, coming fresh off of a recital weekend. So I
Woo!
am relaxed and refreshed and ready for the week ahead.
That's so good. You before we got on the call, you said, "Oh, I just slept last." I'm like, that must feel great.
I did.
That is so good. So for people who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. As Ginger said, my name is Jessica. I have owned my studio for just closing out season 10. So 10 years. I am located in sunny South Florida, and I am a single mom to a really fun, really energetic 6-year-old little boy. Obviously, I own a dance studio and we're there often. However, we love taking trips to Disney and like spending our free time at the beach. So
Awesome. I love she posts pictures online. Pictures with your son. I love that because so many moms, they have 100 pictures of their kids and they're not in any of the photos. And my mother used to always say, like, don't be that mom. Like, you should be in the pictures. People should see, like, you're the one investing the work into growing this child. So bravo to you.
absolutely. I make my mom take the pictures of me with Xander all the time.
That works. Oh my gosh. So with your story, how did you come to open a dance studio?
Yeah, my story is kind of fun. I grew up dancing just like most of us did. My mom put me in ballet when I was 2 years old, and I just never stopped. I went to school for psychology in college.
Okay.
I was not going to be a dancer, not going to be a studio owner. I was still dancing in a ballet company, but it was just like something I was doing for fun. And I had this whole goal of being some version of a child psychologist. I don't think my plan was mapped out too well, but that was in my head, right?
Yeah.
And once I graduated college, I had a job offer at a psychologist office, and I was signing papers to start working. And I was like, well, I can't come this day because I have rehearsals. And I had already started teaching on my own at an after school dance program. And I was like, well, I can't come this day because I have to teach. And then I got to the point where I was like, well, I don't want to do this. So I just didn't sign the paperwork. I was like, you know what? I'm
Wow.
not going to do this. Thank you so much. And then I was like, let me figure it out. Let me see if I can teach and do this on my own. And at that point, I had already at the after school dance program, I probably already had about 30 kids taking ballet classes with me for about a year. So the following year, I maybe added two hip hop classes. And then after that, I added more girls started wanting to take ballet. So then I was going up ages, right? So then the older girls were wanting to come. And before I knew it, it was growing and growing and growing. And I said, all right, let me learn how to run a business before I open a business. Because at
Yeah.
this point, I was already like, okay, I want to open a dance studio. And so I went and got my MBA at a college that was right in my area, so I didn't have to go anywhere for it. It was right over here. That took a few years, and by the time I graduated, I already had over 100 students in the after school program. And that summer, I opened the doors to my studio, and it was a really seamless transition because I had already been building a
Right.
clientele organically. So when I opened up the studio, they all just shifted over. So it was really nice. I didn't have to, unfortunately in our industry, we know when some people open studios, they pull from whatever studio they were
Right.
at, things like that. So I was in such a good position that I was able to kind of grow it from the ground up with students as they were younger, growing with me, and then just coming into the space.
Wow. That's awesome. That sounds like really seamless and sweet. That's
It was.
awesome. Um, when you became a mom, what shifted for you as a business owner, either practically or emotionally? Like what was the change that happened there?
Yeah, everything shifted, right? And I had an even bigger shift once I became a single mom. So we can
Yeah.
even go into that. So when I opened my studio, like most of us, I was working 24/7. I really enjoyed being in my studio though. So it wasn't like working 24/7 and I wasn't stressed. I was
Right.
happy. I was happy to be there working. Then when Xander came along, I was like, wait, but I want to go and do things with him,
Yeah.
right? So then my perspective kind of shifted. But again, he was a newborn, so you're not they're not doing much,
That's
right?
the
So
easy phase, y'all.
it's the easy thing.
I just do baby wearing and that's it. We're good to go.
He was always like strapped on me at the studio. So even still, when he was a newborn, I might have like toned down on like the Sunday rehearsals and the Sunday activities so I could go and do things with him. But most of the time, he was just with me at the
Yeah.
studio. So again, I was happy because what else do I need? I loved dancing. I loved teaching. We're so spoiled as studio owners. Our jobs give us so many things, right?
Yes.
Physical, it's creative, it brings us money, it's thought provoking. Like it kind of fills up all the buckets that a lot of people are
Very
searching
true.
for. And
Very
so
true.
we get into this, cycle of like, well, I'm having fun, but before you know it, you are going to get burnt out,
Right.
like it or not. So at this point, I'm just working 24/7. I'm up all night with my baby, and I am I am getting there. I'm very exhausted, mentally drained, physically drained. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm just constantly stressed. And I didn't realize it, right? You just like
Right.
you don't feel yourself.
We're
So
used to having a lot of things to do.
yeah, yeah. And are you really enjoying the time you get with your child because you're so like focused on the next thing, right? So at that point, I'm starting to like notice that I need to start taking steps back, but I don't think I fully knew how to do it. I tried delegating to teachers at the studio and that blew up, unfortunately. And, things like that. So it got to a point where I was like, okay, well, Xander's just going to stay with me and I'm at the studio and we're going to figure this out. Then enter my single mom era I mean, I got divorced Xander right before Xander turned 2. So I think that's such a pivotal age, right? Because that's the age where you really can start doing things with your kid.
Right.
And then I had to go into my co-parenting journey. And now I'm really looking at my weekends like, well, when I'm with my kid, I want to be intentional. I don't want
Yeah.
to have them at the studio with me all day long. I want to do things. I want to be able to like go to Disney World for the weekend. I want to be able to take him to the zoo on a Saturday afternoon, on a Sunday, go to the beach, all these things that I wasn't doing before because I was happily working. But now, you think you have unlimited weekends with them, right? But when you're looking at it like, well, I have him this weekend, but I don't have him this weekend. So I'm not going to waste the weekend that I do have him
Right. Right.
by work.
Right.
So that's when I really got intentional with my time. And it's now it's funny, like we just put a whole show together, right? And back before all of this part of my journey, we would be at the studio till 6, 7 o'clock on a Saturday and then back on Sunday morning. Now we were done by noon on Saturdays. And like, so it's so nice. And
Yeah.
I'm not teaching as much. I mean, that comes with your studio growing and aging up as well. So I'm teaching most days, I teach 1 hour a week, 1 hour a day. On Thursdays, which is the day I don't have Xander usually,
Yeah.
that's the day I teach more. So now
Right.
I've learned to kind of like load up on my
Right.
weekends that I don't have him. And then on the weekends I do have him, I'm not working at all. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of balancing it out and really being intentional with your time.
Yeah. I remember in the early days, yeah, like we said, like baby wearing, I had like the Lila baby and like the Moby wrap, and I was like, this is easy.
Easy
What's a
peasy.
big deal? And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he's wiggly. I'll just put him in the pack and play. It was just ballet class and the pack and play is right there in the classroom. And then it was like, oh no, he's climbing out of it, and all bets were off.
All bets are off. Now my son thinks he owns the studio and
Yes.
like the Walmart greeter at the front door. So
Yes. It's so funny because I think that in one way we're like, oh man, like we don't want to spend too many hours of them just at work with us because we're like we want to spend quality time with them, not just in the same building. But you're right, they do become little versions of us. They
yeah.
go and talk to the people. My son, he was like 18 months old and he was like, I want to vacuum. And I'm like, he's vacuuming the floor, helping gather the recycling. Like they just know the ethics and the business and
I
all, like
will
all
say,
those business skills they're
yeah,
developing.
absolutely. Xander loves being at the studio. It's so funny. Like he genuinely, and most of the time his friends are all here. Like,
Oh,
a lot of kids come right after school and they hang out here until their class. So he even on Saturdays, all he's friends with all the siblings. So he
oh,
gets to run around this big
yep,
room and play with his friends and whatever. So he would rather be at the studio than just like sitting at home doing nothing.
yeah, for
I'm
sure.
grateful for that because I know a lot of kids are not like that.
Yeah, I think we got to write it out while they're young because when they get older, they're like, I'll stay home.
I know. I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, for real. So have you ever had a time when you felt like you're torn between being present as a mom and business and like things are going on?
Honestly, I'm just always gonna pick my kid.
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty about it. I've had this conversation with moms also, like other studio owner
Yeah,
moms and
yeah.
whatnot. Um, why shouldn't I get to take my kid to a baseball game? Like,
Right.
that's because I also teach kids doesn't mean I get to like neglect my own child, right? Like
Right.
and if another parent doesn't understand that, like how I would never ask you to not take your kid to their activity. You know what I mean? So like
Exactly.
granted, I'm not just going to cancel a class, right? But I have to be smart and put things in
Yeah.
place. So if I need to or want to not be there for something, I have a quality teacher in place for me.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example. Saturday, Xander's dad signed him up for baseball, and it was Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Now, I have taught Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. since I was
Yes.
16 years old, right? But I have a lot of assistants on Saturdays just because it's a crazy day, and I have a co-teacher in there with me who has been with me for I don't know how long. So at
Yeah.
that point, me missing at 9 a.m. on Saturday, not a big deal. Because I was there for the first couple of weeks in the beginning of the season. And then once baseball started, I kind of wasn't. And I
Yeah.
didn't feel bad about it. I put things in place so nobody would complain. And then when I would get to the studio at 10:15, I would see the moms and I'd be like, oh yeah, Xander's baseball game, blah, 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 blah. And nobody's saying anything.
Yeah.
Um, However, if I wouldn't have had a teacher, if I would have just had a teenager teaching the class as a fill-in, it would have been a different story, right? I
Right.
think as moms, we obviously our child is our priority and we want to be there for them, but we have to put the things in place to allow us to do those things.
Yeah. A lot of times I tell people who are they're expecting their first child or they're planning to start a family, like start now with scheduling yourself out of
Yeah.
your commitments. You can be present when you want to be, but
Mhm.
you shouldn't schedule yourself like, oh, I'm teaching 16 hours a week. Like, be realistic about giving yourself space. Because I think it's hard. Like, you have your business world, you have your I'm in mommy mode, but you're still a woman who needs to just be a woman. You
Absolutely.
still want to watch TV or go to
Oh yeah.
Starbucks or go shopping. Like there's certain things you want to do. Yes, you could do with your child, but you also just need time to be an adult
Yep.
and to
You also
allow
need to
space
schedule
for
time
that
for
is
yourself.
huge.
Yep. That's a hard one for me because I will give everything to my child and everything to my business. Now I'm learning, right? So like
Yeah.
it's been a process. It's been so now I do take time for myself. Like for example, on the weekends I don't have Xander, which I know not everybody is afforded that. I hate it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna make the best of it, right? So I will get a ton of work done, but also what I love to do, I'm lucky enough to live very close to the beach. On Sundays, I'll go to the beach and I'll get work done for a little bit. There's a Starbucks right on the water where I am. So I'll go to Starbucks, I'll work for a couple hours, and then I'll go lay out on the beach and like kind of decompress for the week. And it's something I'm really grateful for. And I've gotten into the habit of doing that when I don't have him.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like you said, like we pour ourselves into so many other people and so many other things in our life that we don't take the time for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, how do you deal with inevitable surprises like sick days? It's always like the stomach flu. Like you have all these things
It's the
planned and like,
worst.
oh my gosh. And it's always the stomach flu or,
The stomach is
some kind
awful.
of crazy cough. And I'm like, COVID was the least of our worries. Like all the other
Stomach
illnesses
bug
that take them
is
down.
oh my gosh, there's so many, right? So I do think as studio owners, we're very blessed that I know I have my mornings mostly free.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I'm working, but it's flexible,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So I do use my mornings and my early afternoons as number one as me time, or if I have to get work done, obviously that's the time for it as well. So funny enough, if there's a sick day or something's going on, I feel like it doesn't throw that big of a wrench into my day, aside from, okay, I might be working from home today.
Yeah,
And then, yes, finding a sub to cover the class for later. Um, but that's something I'm really grateful for, that I'm able to kind of be flexible during the day.
yeah. As you're talking, I'm thinking what a lot of people don't understand is that we have a choice in the matter.
Yeah,
And you've chosen to prioritize things the way that you like. And I encourage other people to just step back and say like, why are you putting these boundaries or these
yeah,
scheduling things or whatever so tight on yourself that you don't have those things? Because we have a choice. We're
we
the
have it.
owners of the business.
Exactly. And if for example, if Xander's sick, like really sick, and I have to like be active, and like the other day I had to take him to the doctor. I had to like so I mean the deadlines we're putting on like we put them on ourselves. We're the studio owners, right?
Right.
So I love saying like there's no emergencies in the dance studio.
Yeah.
Like there's really no emergencies. Like it's gonna be okay if it
Yeah.
happens instead of today. Like I don't need to answer that email instantly. Like I
Right.
don't need like it's okay. Like it is
Yeah.
okay. I have a sick kid. We can pause for a day and we can
Yeah.
move forward. And if something does have a deadline, like for example, we had a recital, right? And I had to get my programs into the printer by a certain day and time, right? That's a deadline. That's a
Right.
thing. But okay, so then if I couldn't do it in the morning, guess what? You're staying up tonight and you're gonna get this done. Like it's really I love that we can be flexible and I mean I'm a hard worker, so I'll get it done, but it just might not happen when I wanted it to happen.
Right. With that in mind, do you think that since you've become a parent, that your understanding and flexibility with your customers has shifted at all?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I've always been slightly understanding. I grew up with a really rigid ballet teacher,
Mm,
uh, company director who didn't allow us. to miss for pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And so I kind of always had that in my head. Like I don't think I know I don't want to run my business and my studio like that. So I didn't. And I think obviously as I've been getting older and seeing, having kids come through the doors, like I want them to have a flexible lifestyle as well, right? And I understand things come up and parents and this birthday party and that and this kid's sick. So I try, it's never a big deal to me.
Right.
Uh so I like I'm like it's just dance. We're here to have fun. Like this isn't stressful. Like we should just
Yeah.
and be enjoying it. Like it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. So what kind of support systems help make this work for you?
Oh man, I have a lot of support systems, I feel like, and I'm so blessed and grateful for it. Both my parents helped me so much
Yeah.
with her. So aside, I could not do it without them. My mom is such a significant help with Xander, and so is my dad. Like I said, as a single mom, you definitely need that support system. Um, Again, I try to always be there, but we're
Right.
busy, life happens. And then honestly, the community at my studio, the parents here, I really love the parents at my studio and I'm really grateful. And I'm fortunate because my son goes to school with a lot of them and dances with a lot of them. And it's honestly the best and coolest support system I could ask for. They're all there for everybody. Like the
Yeah.
kid needs something and all the parents jump in and it's so special to me and it's something that I'm really really grateful for and I find it so amazing that you can look back and say like these relationships are formed because of something I created, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I know support systems like there's such a network and it takes a village and I'm really
For
grateful for
sure.
my
Yeah. Are there any lessons that you learned that you wish you had learned earlier?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of lessons. Where do we start? No, I think the biggest lesson is really being intentional with my time. And we talked about that. But uh to me, really learning to stop, take a breath, take time for yourself, take time to be with my kid, not just work 24/7, and really being selective on who I allow in my life. That goes for friends, relationships, clients. All it takes is one bad apple, and that
Yeah.
toxicity will seep through and it will last. So once you can, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at like cutting that out quicker. You only attract what you allow. So if you're going to allow people to step all over you and you're not going to have boundaries in place, then they're going to run your studio and you're going to have no control over it. And before you know it, you're not even going to recognize it. It's not going to be what you wanted. It's something completely different.
Right.
So I think that was one of the biggest journeys for me to figure out. And I do finally feel like I'm at that point where I know exactly who aligns with me and aligns with my studio. And I don't fight to keep people here and in general in the studio and in my life if they're not gonna line up with who we are and what we represent.
Yeah. For sure.
Mhm.
So you talked about your recital recently. Was there anything that you think you did that maybe you could share as a tip for people who've got young children and it's recital season and they're kind of freaking out? As they say, it's Maycember. It's
December. Oh, I saw a meme that said December is just May in a tank top. Or no, May is
yes,
December in a tank top. I switched
yes.
that.
You're
It's
like,
like right,
it's Maycember. Like, there's all the graduations, birthday
chaotic.
parties, the everything, the weddings, the confirmations.
Yes,
Plus, it's our
everything.
things. So,
Everything is happening at the same time. So I do my shows a little differently, and I know everybody's gonna let out a giant gasp when they hear this, but I basically, you know what I'm about to say. I basically put my end of the year recitals, and we do a Christmas show also, and our Christmas together somewhere between 4 and 3 weeks. So I am of the thought that I would rather just be stressed for 3 weeks than 3 months.
mm,
And it all gets done.
yeah,
It is wonderful. All the costumes arrive on time. Everybody knows their dances. My shows are really, as with everybody's, really high quality, top-notch performance. We have the projections, we have the light, like I do all of it and it comes out wonderful. And I get a little stressed right before we get started, like,
Yeah.
gonna have enough, like, is this gonna work? Is everything gonna be good? Once the ball gets rolling, I do find myself like, all right, this is perfect. Everything's going. I'm genuinely not a very like high stress person. I just know everything is gonna work out.
Yeah.
Uh, and so as a mom, as a busy studio owner, when you're putting your recitals together, like stop and take a second and like really look at what you're doing. How, like, it's so cool. Like, you most likely dreamed about this when you were
Yeah.
5 years old.
For
Like,
sure.
how many of us used to make up dances in our rooms with our stuffed animals? Like, that was you dreaming of your recitals that you're putting together right now. So instead of it being this stressful time of the year, like why don't we just like sit back and really appreciate what we're doing and think back, like how many memories did you just create for all these friends, like all these kids in your studio, for all the moms? Like your studio is a part of their core memories right now because they got to be in a recital,
Yeah.
got to dance with their friends. Like it is my favorite thing to do after the show, the night of and the next morning, to go on Facebook and Instagram and look at all of the pictures and like people commenting on it. And then guess what? Like 10 years from now, they're going to be reposting them as memories, right? And how
Yes.
wild is that? Like you created that, you put that together, you gave them this opportunity to have a core memory. And so it doesn't matter if the dances are perfect. It doesn't matter if everybody's on the same count. And it really doesn't matter. Like they're coming to watch the show in the best mood possible because what parent doesn't like to see their kid enjoying something that they love and having a good time on stage with their friends?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, if you could give advice to a newer studio owner who's also a parent or about to become a parent, what would you say to them?
Oh man. First of all, obviously enjoy everything you're doing because it's such a blessing that we get to do this. But a couple of things, start laying out your schedule and being like really disciplined and intentional with your time. Know that when you want to spend time with your child, you're not working.
Yeah.
When you want to have you time, and take a moment to like not be working, you're not working. I really have that strict boundary. Even, I know we shouldn't be, but I am somewhat friends with some families in my studio and a lot of the older kids, they do have my phone number. And so if they're texting me or whatever, if it's work related, I will not answer until Monday morning, right? So even people that I am closer with than like the average parent at the
Right.
studio, if they text, but they don't because they know I'm not going to answer. But if somebody sends, our studio phone is a cell phone also. So if somebody texts me on a Saturday evening, it's not happening. I will respond on Monday and say, "Hey, I'm back in the office now. Like now I'm happy to answer your question," right? So really, really try to set that boundary as early on as possible because, like I said before, people are going to treat you the way you allow them to treat you. So if you let them text you at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night and you're responding right away, guess what? They're going to keep doing it because you're
Absolutely.
showing them that you allow it. So really that's my like number one, like really set your boundaries and hold to it. Like make sure you're not gonna allow other people to run all over you and run your studio for you. And then I mean, as a new studio owner, stay on top of your finances out the gate. Be really, really disciplined in how you're tracking everything. Make sure that you know whatever your income is, where it's coming from, kind of separate things if you can. So if you have a competition team, keeping those, that income there, keeping your recreational income here, keeping your costume income here, so you can really stay on top of like where everything is coming from and where you need to make payments from. That was a big one for me because I used to just keep everything in the same pot and then not know what anything was.
Yeah.
So really staying organized and it's much easier to do in the beginning. It's easier to do that right out the gate. So any friends of mine that are opening studios, I'm like, okay, here's what you need to do with your finances. Like you need to organize yourself and start like this from the get-go. And then really just make sure you're surrounded by like-minded people, and be really careful with who you hire and who you bring into your studio.
Yeah, that's a big one,
Oh,
a really big one. I think people either they hire out of desperation and they just want it to be done,
yeah,
or their expectations that they have, they don't actually share them with the staff.
yeah.
And so there's this disconnect. So that's definitely a big one for your tips for newer studio owners. Um, so how can people find you online?
Oh, I'm on everything, but I feel like the easiest way to find me would be Instagram. And my Instagram is Jessie, Jessi 1012. If you want to find my dance studio, it's at Creative Dance Studio, and there's an underscore in between creative and dance, and in between dance and studio. So
Gotcha.
those are the easiest ways to find me. And then of course on Facebook, just with my regular name.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation with us. And I think that we got a lot of really good information. And one thing that you didn't say outright, but was kind of a common thread was about setting boundaries
Oh yeah.
for yourself and for others to understand what your values are. And I think that's so important. So thank you so much for that.
Welcome.
All right, everyone. I will put a link to Jessica's information in the show notes, and I will talk to you next time. Hey there, it's Ginger. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please remember to share it with a friend and write a review and give a rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps our show get in front of more listeners like you. Have a great one.